Hey cats, it's your midsole man EDDBUD here. Today a bit of a break from the norm for you, a trail shoe review from Asics. This is the Fujilite 6. Only 250 grams in the sample size for this, so a nice lightweight trail option. How does this one hold up on my local routes? Let's find out. Thanks for joining me on the channel, always appreciated. If the videos are helping you out, please do subscribe and also give this video a thumbs up like, drop us a comment for the algorithm, Dankeschön. Only 308 grams for my UK 11 or US 12. The Fujilite 6 is a slightly lower stack trail option, Asics being a little bit more minimal here in terms of the upper materials. While I measured this shoe, it does seem to come in quite a lot lower than some of the actual sample size measurements that I've seen. So I'm not too sure what's going on there. I am still recording that 4mm drop from heel to toe, and the midsole foam that we've got here is Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco. Reasonably wide in the forefoot area of the shoe, not quite so narrow as some of the Asics road shoes that we've tried out recently. There's a decent bit of surface area there. I think these are retailing at around about 125 Earth credits here in the UK. This is a shoe that Asics have sent to me for review, but they're not paying me to make this video, nor are they vetting my views before my valued viewers get to see them. Upper wise, I really do like this upper. It does work for me as a trail based offering. As you can see, we have a load of lace loops here, but it really does work to sort of pull the upper materials around the foot, create a nice stable kind of feel. I think regardless of foot width, whether you have a narrow foot or a wider foot, I think this shoe could work very well for a load of different people. I would suggest this is a shoe that's meant for less technical trails. It's kind of ideal really for the sort of stuff that I would run on here in the UK. If you're after a load of protection, then there's lots of other models out there that have got much more robust uppers, extra bits of rubber and things around the forefoot area to protect the foot a little. This is meant as a sort of fun and fancy free shoe, something that's a little bit lighter on foot, and that's exactly what the doctor ordered when it comes to a trail shoe for me. It's nimble enough you can still sort of turn up the pace, and I found that water actually comes out of the shoe, vents out of it really well, doesn't kind of linger in there like some trail shoes do. The routes I'm running on to test this one out were very wet. There's a lot of dampness out there. We didn't have any rain for a really long time, and then suddenly lots and lots of it, and that meant that there were some very soaked paths, lots of standing water and stuff, but it seems to vent out of the shoe very well. I do like the upper. It helps to anchor the foot down on top of the midsole unit here. You've got this elasticated lace loop to hide your laces away, though I did find that the laces aren't all that long actually, so it was kind of a unused asset. So if you like your uppers on your trail shoes a little bit lower profile, you like them to be breathable and really work in terms of fitting, could be an absolute banger. I'll give it a 2.8 out of 3 for the upper so far. I mean, if anything, I could do with a little bit less padding around here in the heel, because it's got a considerable counter here. Midsole wise, I think we got a slightly lower stack here really than it does appear. Does feel like you've got a little bit more road feel. There's not quite so much squash and compression, but I actually really like that on the trails. I'm a very tall guy, kind of look a little bit like a deer, you know, dancing around on the mud. I got a higher center of gravity, so a slightly lower stack trail shoe is great for me, and I really like the lower drop that we've got here as well from heel to toe. In England, like, trails can mean a lot of things, right? In the summer you've got dry paths, you've got exposed tree roots to worry about, there's gravel, there's stones, you've got forest areas, you know, that's our trails really. In the winter these things turn to like mud lakes, there's like standing water everywhere, deep puddles, slippery surfaces, so you know, don't be confused by that. I see some people in the US testing out trail shoes and they're running on these buffed out paths that are like bone dry. It really isn't like that over here. The midsole here is Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco. Does seem a little bit softer, slightly more springy than what we've got in something like the Nimbus, for example. There's just enough cushion for me to take on some sort of lighter trails here. I think if you're going long distance you might want to look at something that's a little bit higher stacked in the Asics lineup. But I think in terms of like impact protection and energy return, it's probably just about right for me. Kind of suits more mid-foot landing really. There's not quite so much foam as you might be accustomed to in the heel. You got things like the Meta Fuji trail there if you want a maxed out stack on your trail shoe. I will compare this one very soon to the Fuji Speed 4, which is actually a very similar shoe aesthetically, though it does have a PIBA plate in the midsole. I think really for daily running though, the Fujilite 6 is a slightly better option of the two. Light enough for some easy trails, and there's easily enough cushion here, perhaps even for some shorter distance trail racing. Just feels nice and natural in terms of my stride in this shoe. It feels like the shoe's in fact staying out of the way a little bit and enabling me to do the work, which is sometimes what I want when conditions are a little bit more testing on the trails. Perhaps for the heavier built runners, you might want a little bit more stack here and a little bit more compression. I think you might start to bottom out the Flight Foam Blast Plus Eco here. Enjoying it so far though, certainly one of the better trail shoes I've tested out over recent times. A 2.8 out of 3 for the midsole. Outsole wise, the lugs are great here. They're not too like overdone. Don't feel like weird if you're running on a flatter or more consistent surface as well. So if you do need to commute, you know, from your home or work across to your trails via the road, then it's not going to feel totally weird or anything. I found the grip was absolutely smashing on gravel and loose stones. We've got debris on the forest floor. It feels like the shoe's sort of biting into it, even on some soggy, muddy paths in some very wet and windy weather that we had yesterday. The shoe really came up trumps. Just felt like the shoe really works across a variety of different surfaces, and that's fantastic. There's good rubber coverage here. I think Asics have gone for a 4mm depth to the lugs. A nice sticky rubber here, much better than what we had on some of the Nike shoes a few years ago. I think fortunately they've moved to a Vibram outsole rubber now. I think this one's perfect for daily use without going over the top. So the Asics grip here is very tacky. There's a real nice aggressive pattern to all of the lugs. Again, I'll give this a 2.8 out of 3. Just wish there was a little bit more traction around this kind of arch area. You never quite know on the trails what you're landing on. That was just that one bit. I wish there was a little bit more here. Value wise, I think at 125 Earth credits here in the UK, this is a real banger. It's light, it's nimble, doesn't feel too overblown in terms of the actual design. They haven't gone for like too much padding or protection. The tongue itself works really, really well, as does the lacing system. Kind of pulls around your foot, almost like you've got the best of, I guess, like a hiking shoe, but with much, much better nimble traction that's very flexible. I really like the upper aesthetics as well. It's a great colorway, this one. They've kept the materials reasonably minimal on this one. No pull tab, good cushion, and I reckon there's a lot of running shoes, in fact, that are intended for the road that aren't as good as this one at 125 notes. I like that Asics are producing lots of different shoes across their lineup that are getting lighter, lower in weight, a little bit more nimble. Just makes them a bit more fun, and I always find myself reaching for these rather than some of the overblown efforts from other brands. It's kind of like the Evo SL of the trails, actually, this one. Didn't really think I was going to like it as much as I have. Might even come in handy for some wetter, sort of wilder winter runs on the roads. I think the grip here will come in handy when it gets a bit nasty out there. Build wise, the shoe's great out the box. No dodgy glue marks or poorly aligned parts here. Worth a 2.8 out of 3 so far. Very difficult to find too much to dislike about this one value wise. Very few trail offerings are as light as this at that amount. So super consistent quality here in the Fujilite 6. It's a hearty trail recommendation. If I've totaled the scores up correctly for the Fujilite 6, we've got 11.2 out of 12. It's nice when a shoe comes in for review and you get it on foot and realise that it's going to really work for you despite not really being on your radar. What's your go-to road to trail offering? Let me know down in the comments. Musical interlude time. With the recent re-release of This Is Spinal Tap and the soon-to-be released Spinal Tap The End Continues, I think that's what it's called. My daughter and I have been listening to all the tracks in the car recently on some long road trips. Gotta say, we managed to get it just right the other day, driving past Stonehenge, and the track came on just as they said Stonehenge. Absolutely fantastic. Always loved the mysticism that surrounds Stonehenge and and the druids. It just feels odd around that area, you know, when you get towards it. It's really weird. It clearly affects people, you know, because as you drive up to Stonehenge, everybody slows down, so maybe there's some sort of strange lines of power and energy that are making all the cars slow down, and everyone seems to look as well at Stonehenge. Maybe it's drawing them in with its mystical power. The film's great, you know, we must have watched it about 3 or 4 times recently. It's so funny. If you've been involved in music at all, you'll no doubt have met some of the characters that do appear in Spinal Tap. I do recall a backstage area with a certain artist that will remain nameless, who was getting very upset at the type of bread that had been ordered, and the owner of the venue had to go and buy some more bread because it wasn't the right type. Yeah, people get very upset about things that, you know, at the end of the day don't really matter all that much. It wasn't like they wanted a certain type of bread either because of like dietary requirements. It was just like the texture of the bread. Yeah. Anyway, go and check it out if you've never heard any of the tracks from Spinal Tap, or watch the film. You know, what are you doing? Go and turn it up to 11 and, you know, rock. That's another great one. Tonight I'm Gonna Rock You Tonight. That is a great track. Spinal Tap. Go and do what you gotta do. Thanks for tuning in, people. Hope you enjoyed this trail shoe review. It was really nice to get out on something that wasn't road. Hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up like. Drop us a comment for the algo. My name's EDDBUD and I'll be seeing you